Recruiting is probably the second most important thing in your dynasty in college football 26. The first obviously being your play on the field. But in order to increase your play on the field, you need good players to be good players. And the best way to do that is to know what you're doing on the recruiting trail. The last thing you want to be doing is making these 7 mistakes because frankly, you're leaving a lot of meat on the bone. You're leaving food on the table that could be taking you to a new level. So I'm going to walk you through what those mistakes are, how to fix them, so that way you can be dominating in your dynasties. So mistake number 1 is doing scouting outside of the offseason. When you're in the offseason, you can see in the top right corner, you have 750 hours, or at least I do right now with Virginia Tech as a 3-star school. That is a lot of hours. Scholarships only cost 5 points. So scouting here when you can't do anything else doesn't really matter. When you get into this season, you only have a limited number of points. That 750 hours is going to decrease, as you'll see later in this video. So we have to be wise with how we use them. If you want to scout in the offseason, fine, you can do that. I have no qualms about that. But once you get in season, you cannot waste those valuable resources to scout a player. They are 10 points apiece. That is 10 points that you can be using literally in any other player for the actual goal of getting those guys to commit to your school, right? At minimum, you're going to be spending 30 points on a recruit, even if you have all of the boosts. I think maybe the lowest is 2, to see fully what that player can be. So we're talking about at minimum 20 or 30 points. That 20 or 30 points is, as you'll see when we go to recruiting, that is a contact friends and family. That is something that is super valuable, especially once you get later in your recruiting class. But right off the bat, that's 25 points that you're not going to be able to spend on a player to get their interest up. So what you do instead is you look at their playing time deal breaker. The cool thing about the playing time deal breaker is that it essentially shows you the overall of the player without actually you having to do much of anything besides go to the recruiting tab on your players. You can see right there the playing time deal breaker. It's the 5th one up from the bottom on the deal breaker side of the screen. That is literally going to tell you everything you need to know, and I'll show you why. The cool thing about it is that it doesn't compare just to the players on your roster. It also compares to all of the other recruits on your board at that position. So you can see here with Sinilau Vu, he is an A+ playing time. So is Vi Secco, as is Frank Anthony. But once we get to a 3-star and Steven Bessinger, he is a B- playing time, which means, as we all knew, Bessinger is going to be a worse overall on day 1 than any of these other guys. Now, this isn't going to tell you anything about whether they're a star, whether they're a bust, their development, what their actual ratings are, but it will give you a better idea of what that player's overall is. And that can be super important when you get later into your recruiting cycle, which is why I said you cannot use scouting points later in the year, because when you need to fill out the rest of your class, just look at the playing time. You don't need to necessarily hit on all of those guys. Just look at what their overall potential could be and sift through there, filter through there, just get guys that are high overalls. There are much better chances that you're going to get very high impact players on day 1 that could potentially have good development traits, good skill caps that can upgrade over time, that can, develop over time, that will benefit you, rather than just using your 30 points to scout the player, seeing that they're not that good, when you could have just gone here the entire time. So save yourself some time, save yourself some effort, just do it by this. You can look at it any position. When you go to defensive end, you see A+ playing time, you see A- playing time, which means that Raekwon Marion is going to be better than Tyreek Worthy. It's not by much, but it's enough, right? It's enough to show us a difference in that playing time deal breaker. A+. So Passignon is going to be better than Worthy. Thorne, he's a B-. So this guy shouldn't even be on our radar when we have these other 3 guys on our list. Mistake number 2 that you are making is not knowing when to give up. And I know this is a super tough one to do, because once you put that initial player on your board, you develop this weird attachment to them where it's like, no, I want this guy. He was on my board first. I need to have him on my team. But as you'll see with some of the other mistakes that you're making, there are ways to kind of counteract that. So I put 2 5-stars on my Virginia Tech board in year one. You see that with Deshaun Sweat, wide receiver. You see that with Zach Glass, cornerback. With Sweat, we have, at minimum, this is not counting all of the other teams that are off the board that have offered him a scholarship, we have 6 other teams that have offered him a scholarship. The likelihood, and as you can see, we got Miami, we got Florida, we got Auburn, Florida State, teams that are going to have a higher point budget than I am and be able to allocate more points to these players. We have a less likely chance of being able to land this player because there are so many other people in there trying to get him to commit to their school. What would you do in this situation? Because most people I know, they see a 5-star wide receiver that is interested in them. They're like, hey, I'm going to go after him. I'm going to put the 50 points into him and see what I can do. And I just want to point out this now, I have 600 hours. So this is where you have 150 less hours to use rather in the offseason when you had the 750. So it's very important to be able to budget your hours wisely in a way that is going to help you land the maximum amount of players. Yes, you do want game-breaking, impact players on your team at some point that are going to help you win football games. But this is a team sport for a reason. And I don't know about you guys, but when I've been playing, I could have the best safety in the world. If your defensive line sucks, it does not matter because you're not going to get pressure. Eventually the coverage is going to break down and the defense, the CPU offense is going to be able to just pick you apart through the air. So it is important that you line your entire defense, your entire offense with good players. It is not just about getting 190 overall player down the line. It's about getting a bunch of low to high 80 overall players. And this is going to be the best way to do that. So you have to make some decisions about what you're going to do. Here with Zach Glass, there's only 3 other teams in there. And yes, one of them is Georgia, but it gives you an idea of how many teams are interested in them. And the cool thing about this is that you don't have to decide in week 0. So I only advanced 1 week. What you want to do is wait until week 1. Because at that point, yes, you will see teams already start to put points into these guys. And that's the key, is that this right here, what you see from Georgia, is only from the scholarship. That is all this little increase in points is. If next week that section doesn't grow anymore, it means they're not really putting many points into them. And so that is where you strike. So it could be the same way with Deshaun Sweat, where you have 7 teams right now in his top 8 that have given him an offer. And Miami is now moving up. Tennessee has dropped a little bit. If you move to week number 1 and you see that, hey, only 1 team realistically is going after him, then you can be like, okay, I'm going to stay in this race and I'm going to try to fight it. But if you see all 7 teams or all 6 other teams going after him and even more scholarships rise into his top 8, it's time for you to pull out. But as you can go down this list, a guy like Jabari Banfield, there are 6 other teams interested in this guy. If you move on to week number 1 and see that all those teams, or a good portion of those teams, are interested in him and are going to continue to pursue him, you have to pull out. There is no use in wasting 50 points on players that you are not going to get. It is wasteful. It is going to hurt your team in the long run. You're going to be behind the 8 ball with the rest of your class. Here you can see there's only 3 other teams interested. There's only 4 other teams interested. My rule of thumb usually is that I only want to see 4 other scholarships. If not, I'm likely going to pull out. It just doesn't make sense for me to stick to players that are hot commodities, quote unquote, with a lot of other teams. A guy like Cornell Bickley. Why would I fight all of these teams when maybe there's another linebacker down the line that I'm going to have a much better shot at getting? So it is very important that you know when to pull out for this exact reason. So as you can see, I have now simulated to week number 1. I decided to put 50 points into Deshaun Sweat. Look where it got me. Yes, these other schools are going after him, but they're not going after him as hard as I am. So that is kind of what I'm talking about knowing when to give up. For a guy like Frank Anthony, yes, he's a 5-star, but I'm not winning this battle. There is no use in me spending 50 points this week on a player that I have no shot on. So you just got to know, it's like Kenny Rogers says, you got to know when to fold them. This is what you would do in that situation. You'd fold the cards, you'd fold the hand. There's no use in playing when you know you're going to lose. Mistake number 3 that people are making that is absolutely costing them is not utilizing visits, specifically complimentary visits. I don't think people quite understand how much a win in your visit gets you. Then you add on the fact that there are complimentary visits involved in that. You are going to see your biggest bar increases, no matter what stage you are in, after your visit weeks, especially if there are complimentary visits. You have to do everything in your power to pick a week for offensive skill positions, to really hone in on making it so that you get as many points as possible for all 4 of those players. You get a max of 4 per home game. Utilize them to the best of your ability. So for me, and again, don't do them for FCS games. They don't give you any points. It literally does not matter what game you do it for as long as you win the game. You're not going to get as many points for a 1 green arrow win as you are for a 3 green arrow win, but that is really not the point, because you are going to get less points if you lose the game. Like that is the biggest thing that I can say, is that you need to make sure that no matter what week you're scheduling visits, you win that game. It is going to hurt you so much if you don't. So with that in mind, you are going to schedule visits in a way that is going to help increase your chances at getting this player. The other thing that you want to do once you reach top 5, which is why mistakes 3 and 4 are kind of twofold, you have to get to the deal breakers as soon as possible. It does not matter if you only know one of them. You need to be able to get information that is going to help you in the next week. So what I am talking about is, we know that proximity to home is one of his deal breakers. And if you didn't, you can go out here and look, like we already talked about. But once we go in here, we're able to sift through and see what potential options there are. We might not know everything, but we know enough. So, student of the game is a possibility here. You have academic prestige, coach prestige, and proximity to home. All of them are question marks right now. You also have coach connection. Same thing. You also have star search. That is a possibility as well. But that's it. So there's 3 options. Because you're allowed 50 points for each player, pick 2 of them. So we'll go with star search, and we'll go with student of the game. What this is going to do is tell us if we are right or wrong. So that way next week, we can know exactly what pitch we need to give in order to get the max amount of points. In a perfect world, we would know exactly what he needs. We would give him 40 points and we wouldn't waste any time. This is not a perfect world. We only know one of his deal breakers, and there are 3 potential options. But we cannot sit here and do send the house again and hope that one of them is right, because sending the house once you get to the top 5 really doesn't do all that much. It does a little bit, and if you have to send the house because your deal breakers aren't very good, send the house. But if you can't afford the deal breakers, like if your deal breakers are good enough where he's going to get extra points, you absolutely need to get on your hard and soft sells. This is going to be the best way to do it. It is a must. This took me a little bit to figure out, and some people in comment sections of past videos have helped me out with it, because I was like, oh, you just need to wait until it finally comes about. I didn't realize that, and this was so dumb of me, once you put in that hard or soft sell, it is going to tell you whether it's right or wrong, therefore giving you all of the information that you need to make a decision for next week. We want to be as proactive as possible in putting ourselves in a position to succeed. And this is going to do that. So make sure once you get in the top 5, it does not matter how many deal breakers you know. You must hard or soft sell to know definitively which one is going to help you. So another thing you should be consistently doing, and the mistake that you're making, this would be mistake number 5 that you are doing that you probably don't know about, is refreshing your board. And what do I mean by this? So every time a guy locks you out, every time a guy commits, take him off the board. There are very few exceptions where a guy is verbally committed that he will decide that he is going to decommit and then you're back in the race. One of those is play style. The other one is championship contender. Outside of that, if there's a different deal breaker in there, chances are you're not going to get him. But there is something that you can do, and I would recommend probably doing it before week 7 like I'm doing right here. It's going to, give you a better chance at getting in these races early on. There are 4 and 5 stars that are not being recruited heavily that you can easily go after. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the prospect list, and first you're going to go to 5 stars, and then you're going to sort by offer. You want it to be from lowest to highest. So this guy, this 5-star edge rusher, Jay Butler, has 1 current offer. The best part about that, they don't show up in the top 5, meaning that the team that has offered him is newly offered him like we are. And that gives us a massive chance at being able to pull off this victory, right? Adding a 5-star to our team. Then you're going to go to 4-star, and you're going to do the same filter. Look at how many zeros there are. I'm going to keep scrolling. Bang. That is a very large number of 0 offered 4-star players that you will be able to go after. And then let's look at 1-stars. Look at how many one offer 4-star players there are that you have the ability to go after. The list just continues to go. I would recommend going after the no offer guys first. But if you see a 1 offer guy that you really like, then you absolutely have to go after him. Now, some of these are guys that have already committed, and the only offer is the team they committed to. But as you can see, there are still a good number of guys that are uncommitted that you have access to. Obviously, if a guy is in a stage and has locked you out, you're not going to be able to go after him. But we're talking about, so there are 16 4-star players that I can still go after. If I get 8 of those guys, I am thrilled. Now, you got to keep in mind, this is week 7 when I'm doing this. I wholeheartedly recommend doing this in week 5 first and then continuing to look at it in subsequent weeks because you can always find talented players that are being under-recruited. It is the best way, I'm telling you, the best way to make your team better in a pretty quick fashion. If you're not doing it, you are behind the 8 ball and you are hurting yourself, you are hurting your team. Please, please, please do this consistently. Hell, you can even start in week 4 and still be in a really good position. These teams will start going after them at about week 8, week 9, week 10. So you have to get in early to build yourself a lead because chances are if you don't, you're not going to be able to get him. So this is something you absolutely must do. We are going to my online dynasty for the 6th mistake that you are making that is really causing you to not be able to fill out your recruiting class because getting all of that top end talent is great. But if you're familiar with the wear and tear in this game, it is very unforgiving, and you need to be able to have guys that are quality players that can rotate in and out to help the longevity of your players. So what this mistake is putting way too many points into guys that you already have firmly in your grasp. Case in point. I am going after a 5-star wide receiver right now. I have 50 points into him. At this point, I can put 10 points into him and be perfectly okay. I do not need 50 points in order to get Warren Cantwell to commit. Those 40 points that I have elsewhere can go into any one of these other players that I'm currently trying to go after. It's about being smart with your resources. If you're in the lead for any of these guys and you have a scholarship on them, they will commit at the end of the year no matter what. I feel like it's a thing that is somewhat known but not well known enough by the entire community. If you have a scholarship on a player, you could not have given him any points at any point during the season, As long as he has a scholarship and you are his number one on his board, he will commit to your team at the end of the year. Use your points to get into a lead for a lot of these players, and then once you feel like you have a comfortable enough lead, take those points off and go give them to another player. As long as that guy's got the scholarship, he will commit to your school. It is the easiest way to build out your recruiting class. Like right now, I currently have 5 guys committed. After this week, I'll at least have a 6th one in Cantwell. Those I cannot build out a recruiting class with 6 guys. Like I need to add more depth to my roster. Like I just can't have a recruiting class of 6 guys. And so going after all of these guys, putting 25 points in to get to that number 1 spot so that I can get those guys on my team is super important. But that is what you need to do. Like just get in the first place, give these guys their scholarships, and then get out of there. You can even just limit it to 5. Like once you've gotten to a pretty good, comfortable lead and nobody else has offered him, drop it down to 5 points so that way you're still building a little bit, but you're not wasting resources that could be spent elsewhere. Right? It's all about resource management and staying on top of. It's essentially budgeting. That's exactly what it is. It is budgeting your hours in a way that makes sense for you to maximize your outcome. The last and final mistake that you are making that is vastly hurting your chances at creating a great roster and then subsequently helping your on-field play is utilizing the transfer portal in a big way. I'm talking about 10 to 15 of your roster spots, of your recruiting class spots every single year should be dedicated to the transfer portal. There are 35 spots on your recruiting class. If you get 20 high school recruits and 15 transfer portal guys, you are setting yourself up for a lot of success. Now, you don't always have to be at 35, but it's better to have more guys than not. You can always cut guys if you go over the roster limit, but you can't add more once you get into this season. So if you only have 60 guys on your roster and all of a sudden your offensive line is going down like flies, you are greatly hurting your chances at being able to compete. Now, why am I showing you my team for my online dynasty? Because after the first offseason, during the first offseason, I made a very, very big point to go hard in the transfer portal. And I want to show you exactly why I did that and how it has shaped my team to be the way it is. So my starting quarterback, Julian Duggar, that was a transfer portal guy. He's an 80 overall. So the nice thing about transfer portal guys, especially in college football 26 versus when it was in college football 25, is that they actually get off-season training boosts. It kind of made the transfer portal in 25 useless unless it was an already really good player because they would not be able to get any training boosts in the off-season, rendering them, just nothing. In this game, you might even be able to solely build your team off of the transfer portal. I wouldn't recommend it because those guys transferred for a reason. It likely means that they're going to transfer from your team as well. But you can absolutely build a really good roster from the transfer portal from 3-star guys. Julian Duggar was a 3-star quarterback. He is an 80 overall in this season. It would be his 3rd year. An 80 overall quarterback that I got from the transfer portal. That is ridiculous. If you got an 80 overall freshman quarterback, you would be flipping your shit. I got him from the transfer portal. He was a 3-star. I didn't really have to do anything for him. I'm going to have him for a couple of years, and then he's going to be gone. You can continue to cycle like that. My starting running back, Jeremiah Cobb, transfer portal. My 2 starting wide receivers, Talon Shetron, Jalen Mbakwe, transfer portal. My starting left tackle, Rhino Tapai Atutai. That was just not good. Transfer portal. Starting left guard, Mateo Guevara. I believe he was from the transfer portal. He actually might be my one holdover. I can't remember. Braylon Moore, who is not here because he's hurt. That's a transfer portal guy. Josh Janowski, that's a transfer portal guy. Diego Blattler, I believe he was not a transfer portal guy, and he was actually on my team. That I can't remember, but he may be one of the few holdovers. My starting left end and my backup left end, both transfer portal guys. My starting right end, Nate Johnson. He is a transfer portal guy. My starting defensive tackle, Vic Burley. He is a transfer portal guy. Starting Sam is not very good. I shouldn't say not very good because Ty Morris actually plays the will in my defense. I run a 4-2-5, so I only use 2 linebackers. Ty Morris, he's a transfer portal guy. JaVale Gilmore, he's a transfer portal guy. And look at the overalls of these guys. These are 3-star players that I was able to get. 3-star players that ended up being 80 overalls or higher. I mean, like, what are we talking about here? The will linebacker position is not a transfer portal guy because I didn't think I needed one. My top 2 corners, both transfer portal guys. My safeties, both of them. I got Coy Parrish in the transfer portal. I got Deshaun Spears in the transfer portal. My point is that literally every single starting position besides my defensive tackle 2, my nickel corner, and one of my offensive line positions, I can't remember, so one of 3 positions, were not taken from the transfer portal. Now, obviously, as you continue to build your roster, you will be able to mitigate your use of the transfer portal and not have to rely on it so heavily to field a competitive roster because you will build through your high school classes. You will have younger developmental guys that you got from the portal that will continue to grow. But, I mean, we're literally talking about a starting defensive lineup that is all 80 overall or higher simply from the transfer portal. It is ridiculous how good the transfer portal can be if you use it the right way. And the best part about it is, remember when I told you that all you had to do was offer a scholarship and be in first place? Yeah, it works the same way for the transfer portal guys. All you have to do is get into first place and have that scholarship offer, and they will commit to your school. I am telling you, if you are not using it, you are doing yourself a massive, massive, massive disservice. So those are the 7 mistakes that I have seen people make, that I have made in the past myself, but they're going to hurt your ability to win and stay competitive on field and really build that dynasty that you're looking to build. And the best part about it is, and I know I've said there's a lot of best parts, is that this is translatable to any school. This is the tactic I've taken with Middle Tennessee State. This is a 2-star program that does not have the prestige or the team grades of some of these other schools. I will have probably 6 4-stars in this class, a 5-star, and that's not counting what I get in the transfer portal. Like, this is Middle Tennessee State. This is not a powerhouse group of 5 program like a Boise State or a Tulane. I'm doing this with a lower end group of 5 school. These things are translatable across any dynasty you play. You just got to scale them up for whatever program you are in, right? Playing at Georgia is going to be different than playing at Middle Tennessee State, and you just scale it a little bit differently. I believe that is all I have for you today. Those 7 mistakes, fix them. Use these resources. Use this video as a resource to help you if you're struggling. Use it as a way to elevate your game to the next level to really dominate in Dynasty. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you on the flip. See ya.